Well, thank you, dear devotees, for joining once again. We're on session 9 of the CC Compact. It's going to be a little bit different. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samhita Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. So welcome, dear devotees, once again to the Chaitanya Charitamrita Compact Series. The pastimes section of the series was completed last week. The next two sessions, today and next Saturday, are going to be focused on the final chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is called the Siksastakam, and focusing specifically on the verses of this particular prayer. This is the crown jewel of the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita series. After so many weeks of studying the life, the teachings, the associates, and the divine ecstasies of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we now arrive at the most intimate part of all. The 8 verses he personally left for the world, the Siksastakam. These are not ordinary verses. Among the vast ocean of teachings spoken by Mahaprabhu, these are the only ones that he himself wrote. They're recorded verbatim. That alone should make us pause. These 8 verses are not simply poetry. They are what you can call spiritual anatomy. They are a roadmap of bhakti. These verses, they show us how the soul progresses from conditioned life. Most of us are living the conditioned world in a conditioned state. How the soul can progress from conditioned life, which is not our natural state, by the way, to a state of pure love of Krishna, which is our natural state. At the same time, they reveal something astonishing. They reveal the heart of Mahaprabhu. We're not just studying instructions. We are being allowed to look inside the Lord's own heart. Because, see, that's why these final 2 sessions, they are so important. Because if we understand Shikshashtakam properly, we understand 2 things. We understand both the path and the destination. We understand both sadhana and prem. Sadhana is the path, and prema is the goal of the destination. So today we'll cover just the first 4 verses out of the 8. And these verses, they talk about the progress from the point of cleansing the heart, marjanam, and purifying our motivation itself, which is actually pretty subtle, and it takes a lot of work to purify our motivation. And then the next session, we'll move into dependence. We'll move into bhav. Bhav means really engaging our heartfelt feelings. We'll explore the sense of separation, the pure state, and then ultimately prema, love of God. And this is where everything comes together, everything we've been discussing all these weeks and all these years in Krishna consciousness. This is where everything comes together. The Siksastakam is amazing because it takes the entire science of bhakti and fits it into just 8 verses. Sometimes we think spiritual life means learning more information, more philosophy, more classes, more seminars. Yes, knowledge matters, and we should not be lazy in this matter of understanding the Siddhanta. That's very important. But Mahaprabhu shows us here that real spiritual life is not about information. It is transformation. We want to be transformed internally and externally. These verses are like spiritual psychology. They explain what happens inside the heart as our bhakti grows. We get a sense of, or let's say we get an awareness of what needs to be cleaned. We get a sense of what needs to be surrendered, what a surrender looks like. We also understand what false spirituality looks like. We understand what real humility looks like. And what love of Krishna actually means. Sometimes devotees want advanced topics, high rasa discussions, and very elevated philosophy. But honestly, the most advanced thing is sincerity. Sincerity, being genuinely honest with ourselves and with the Lord, and acting on that sense from the place of honesty. That's advancement. That's an advanced topic. That's the most advanced thing. Sincerity, not vocabulary, not a display of emotions and sentiments, not looking advanced, but sincerity. These verses of Siksastakam, they are powerful because they expose us. They force us into a sense of sincerity if we look at them properly. They force us to ask uncomfortable questions. Am I actually becoming softer? Am I justifying my lack of humility? Am I actually becoming more dependent on Krishna, less proud, less selfish? Or am I just getting better at looking devotional? That is why Siksastakam should be read again and again, not just as a philosophy, but as a daily mirror that we look at, just the mirror. That's why we read this, we recite this Siksastakam every morning in our ISKCON temples. And it's compact, so in just 8 verses, we get the essence of everything. This is why Siksastakam matters. So please let us study this with our utmost seriousness, which is why I also encourage all devotees. It's only 8 verses. You can learn them, memorize them, understand the meaning of the words, and reflect on it deeply. One beautiful way to understand Shikshashtakam is to see that it's not 8 separate ideas. It's a progression. It's a staircase, like a map, right? So the first verse is cleaning. Cheto darpana marjanam. We start by cleaning. Bhakti, the process, begins by clearing the dust of false ego and the dust of attachment and illusion. The second verse is mercy. Nam nam akari bahudha. Nija sarva shaktis. Here we learn that the problem really at the core is not lack of access to Krishna. Access to Krishna is eminently available everywhere. It's imminent. That's not the problem. The problem is lack of attraction to Krishna. Durdeva midisham. The third verse is humility. Tranada bhishanichena. Without tolerance, respect, and freedom from false ego, we cannot chant the name constantly. And that's what we want to be doing. And the fourth verse, the last one for today, na dhanam na janam. I do not want Krishna when I look in my heart. I just find that I want wealth and followers and so on. Yeah. So it makes us ask the question, do I want Krishna himself, or mostly what can I get from Krishna? We preach, yeah, you should not pray for this, but what about me? I'm preaching, but am I really following it deep, deep inside? These first 2 verses, 1 and 2, that's how spiritual life begins, the cleansing process, recognizing the mercy of the holy name. Then verse 3 gives us the qualification. Without humility, this deep, deep chanting cannot happen. And then verse 4, ask us about motive. Why are we doing all this? Do I really want Krishna? They mostly want things from Krishna. Then the later verses, 5, 6, 7, 8, they go deeper. Dependence, bhav, separation, and then finally pure prem. Sometimes we want the emotions of verse 8 while still living in the consciousness of verse 2. We want ecstasy without the purification. We want prema. We know, yeah, prema is the way to be. It's awesome. We want it, but without the requisite surrender. Mahaprabhu says it does not work like that. There is a sequence. There is a maturation. You cannot force the mango to ripen in a few hours when it's still green. There's a process. A flower blooms in a proper order. Things in nature work in a proper order. And a lot of our frustration in spiritual life comes from trying to skip steps, cut corners. We do get frustrated. Or maybe we don't get frustrated, but other people get frustrated with us that, oh, you're a Hare Krishna. You've been doing this for so many years, and why are you still so like this? It's a process. It takes time. So we all need to understand this when looking at ourselves and also when looking at other devotees. not all avocados ripen at the same time. They ripen at different times, depending on what's going on with them. But eventually they'll be ripening. We just need to give it space and time. This emotional performance versus real advancement. Who are we when nobody's watching? This is one of the biggest dangers in spiritual life, this mistaking emotional performance for actual advancement. Especially in devotional circles, it's very easy to look spiritual. And we judge each other by this too. We should be careful not to do that. We can learn the language, the jargon, ISKCON jargon, and Vaishnava jargon, and use the right words. And, you know, um, depending on what circles you're in, you use the Sanskrit words, or use the Bengali words, or even use the Gujarati words, and so on. We learn the language. We can speak deeply. We can post beautiful things on social media. We can appear very advanced. The real question is, who are we when nobody's watching? Because bhakti is not theater. It is not branding. Bhakti is not spiritual aesthetics. Bhakti is deep. It is inner surrender. It's what we see when we are alone and look in the mirror. And then reflecting deeply. Sometimes someone may look very simple externally, but maybe deeply advanced. We know that. And sometimes someone may look very advanced externally, but maybe spiritually very fragile. So, how do we tell? Are we supposed to tell? We tell not by how emotional they look, but there are certain other tells. How do they respond when they're corrected? How do they handle insult? We can tell by how they tolerate inconveniences. We can tell by how they behave when they're not appreciated. Real bhakti makes us softer, less defensive, less hungry for recognition, less obsessed with being seen. If my spiritual life is making me more self-centered instead of less, then something is wrong. Siksastakam begins by breaking that illusion. This this idea that I can continue this performance and get better and better at it. No. We have to ask the hard questions. How easily do I get irritated? What is it that triggers me? Is it worth it? Is it the mark of a devotee? We have a lot of cleaning to do when we see these things in our heart. And so we start with the first verse, which is all about cleaning. Let's start. Verse number 1, Siksastakam. चेतोदर्पणमार्जनं भवमहा धावाग्निर्वापणम् श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणम् विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनं प्रतिपदम् पूर्णामृता स्वादनम् सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्. Let there be all victory for the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna. which can cleanse the mirror of the heart and stop the miseries of the blazing fire of material existence. That chanting is the waxing moon that spreads the white lotus of good fortune for all living entities. It is the life and soul of all education. Chanting of the holy name of Krishna expands the blissful ocean of transcendental life. It gives a cooling effect to everyone and enables one to taste the full nectar at every step. Sometimes it is also described as the rays of the benediction moon. Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu says, cannot see the full verse beyond, could the screen be expanded? Is this the case with everyone? Everyone experiences the same thing, that you're not seeing the whole verse? And confirm that.
No, we can see the whole thing.
everything.
You can see the whole thing, right? Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. The first verse, this one, starts with the one very famous line, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, very much quoted, isn't it? The cleansing of the mirror of the heart. This is the foundation of everything. Our problem is not that we lack intelligence. Our problem is that our consciousness is covered. The mirror is there, the soul is there, our relationship with Krishna is there. But it is covered with dust. What is that dust? You ask, what is this dust that we're cleaning? What is mud that's caked over my mirror? This dust, this dirt, is a false ego. False ego, ahankar. What is that? False ownership, false expectations, material attachments. The idea that this is mine, I'm in control. If I get, just get this one thing, I will finally be happy. I reach this one number and I'll not be miserable anymore. Because of that dust, we misread life. We chase temporary things as if they're permanent. And we disregard things that are truly consequential. We panic over things that are never ours to begin with and never will be. The holy name cleans that whole attitude, yes. Uproots it. That is what chanting is doing. We have to chant right. Prabhupada repeatedly said, chanting is a cleansing process. It's not just a ritual that you do. It's not just a duty. It's genuine cleansing. And as the mirror becomes clearer, life changes because we see things properly. When you see things properly, you can drive your car properly. You can move through life properly. Life changes. Not necessarily because the world changes. The world doesn't change. Our vision changes. And that is huge. We need to change our vision, our perspective, the ability to see clearly. We cannot see when we're in the haze of false ego. We're on the spiritual path. When you're on a path, you want to see, have I made any progress? If I step forward, I used to be here and now I'm here. Am I actually here? Am I actually better off than before? How do we measure progress? Devotees ask, how do I know if I'm progressing? It's a very important question. See, because spiritual imagination is easy. Yeah, we can imagine all kinds of things. Real transformation is harder. Progress is not measured by how emotional I felt in Kirtan. Sometimes we may think, yeah, that's how I measure it. It's not measured by how many years I've been around in an organization. It's not measured by whether other people think I'm advanced. That's not how we're supposed to. None of these things are measuring yardsticks, although sometimes we do use them. But that's not the proper. The better question is, am I becoming harder to offend? Like, to offend that devotee, you need to do a lot to make that devotee even feel a little bit offended. Sometimes we take pride in being easily offended. I have self-respect, What is this? Yes, it's important to have self-respect. It's important to not be a doormat. That's all important. But sometimes we take it too far. We look for ways to get easily offended, and we take pride in it. Am I changing in that area? Am I easier to correct? Or do people really, really have to think twice before offering me any corrections? Am I less controlled by praise and criticism? Am I less attached to a sense of control overall? Am I less hungry for recognition? Because those things show whether the heart is actually being cleansed. After years and years and years of chanting, I still get deeply disturbed by a little bit of disrespect, the tiniest bit. I should ask, what exactly am I protecting? Usually it is the ego. We are cleaning around the dust and not cleaning the dust itself. We think we did a lot of cleaning. This verse pushes us toward honesty. We're not chanting to become impressive. We're chanting to become transparent. That's the whole point of the mirror, transparency. And why? So Krishna can actually be seen. We want to see ourselves and we want to see Krishna. Yeah. Our progress depends on two things. Because not everybody's going to progress at the same pace and reach the same level at the same time. It doesn't work like that. It depends on two things about the mirror, right? How dirty is the mirror to begin with? Point number one. And two, how intensely and diligently in a focused way am I cleaning, scrubbing? If my mirror is just a little bit of dust in it, yeah, I can't see anything, but it has just a little bit of dust. And your mirror has a thick cake of mud and dust and stuff. But you're cleaning much more diligently and you'll be done in no time. And I'm still just like, half-heartedly, pretending to dust. In no time, you will have a shining mirror where you can see everything clearly. And mine might take a few more lifetimes, even though I started with less dirt and dust. It all depends on how hard we're cleaning, how intensely, how diligently, how sincerely. That's important. That's how we can measure progress. Verse number 2. It's about the holy names. Actually, the whole Siksastakam is about the holy names. You'll come to learn that. Nam namakari bahudha nija sarva shaktis tatrarpita niyamita smarane nakala etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi Durdaiva janinaanuraga. My Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, in your holy name there is all good fortune for the living entity. And therefore you have many names, such as Krishna and Govinda, by which you expand yourself. You have invested all your potencies in those names. And there are no hard and fast rules for remembering them. My dear Lord, although you bestow such mercy upon the fallen conditioned souls by liberally teaching your holy names, I am so unfortunate, Durdevam, I am so unfortunate that I commit offenses while chanting the holy name, and therefore I do not achieve attachment for chanting. Iha jani na anuraga. So here Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taking the stance of a conditioned soul. Here he's saying Krishna himself is putting in, the important point for us to work on. What is it that we should be crying for? He's crying for that. So he says something incredible that Krishna, you have invested all your potencies into the holy names. All, every one of them. Not one is missing. Not some potency, all potencies. And he has such a variety of beautiful names. And he's made himself available in those names. Govinda, Gopala, Ram, Narasimha, Gauranga. There are no strict rules. There's no complicated qualification, no special place required, no perfect life required before beginning. You can chant in your apartment, you can chant in traffic, you can chant at work, you can chant in the kitchen, you can chant in an airport, you can chant in a box, you can chant with a fox, you can chant anywhere. This is extraordinary mercy. There's no rules. Imagine if spiritual perfection required a cave in the Himalayas and 30 years of silence. Most of us will be disqualified immediately. But Krishna he's been making himself accessible and available to everyone. That is compassion. The question is not, does God exist? The question is God available? Is he accessible? Because if God was not available, he might as well not exist. But here, he's available. He's showing how much availability is there. No hard and fast rules. Full potencies, full availability, not partial. In the name. The name is just right here. We can just produce a sound with our bodies. That is compassion. And yet Mahaprabhu says something that's heartbreaking. Durdaivam idrisha mihajaninara. I am so unfortunate. Look at my misfortune. I have no attraction for this. Even though there's so much power, I have no attraction. There's so much sweetness. And what is wrong with me? This is an honest prayer. The problem is not lack of mercy. The feast of the holy name is already prepared. The problem is my appetite. I got no taste. I got no hunger for the feast that's in front of me. My soul is crying for the feast, but I have blocked it because my ego thinks I don't need it. The problem is my lack of appetite. And the moment we realize that, that honesty is actual spiritual maturity. That, oh my goodness, my lack of appetite is the problem. My lack of taste is the problem. That's what this is. Durdevam, idisham, ihajani nanuraga. Anuraga means to have this strong affection and attachment. Look at my misfortune. I got nothing. It's tragic. It's a travesty. It's a catastrophe. But we don't see it as a catastrophe. That's our misfortune. Why do we still struggle with chanting? Usually because we want Krishna's blessings more than Krishna himself. We want Krishna's gifts, things. This is subtle. Even subtle things. We chant for peace, chant for stress relief. We chant for help with our career. We chant for stability in our relationships. Chant for protection. Of course, Krishna is very kind. He helps, yes. And we should. When we're going through these things, we should turn to the Lord. 100%. But if that is all we want, if you don't want anything beyond that, if that is all we want, then we are still treating him like a service provider. Then we are still in the idea that moksha, relief, is the goal of life. Now people think dharma, artha, kama, moksha, religiosity to get money, to enjoy the money, and then to get relief from the miseries of external life. These are the goals of life. These are not the goals of life. The goal is prema, love. And love is the only thing that's selfless among all these goals. Everything else is selfish. So if All we want is relief for ourselves, for our external circumstances. Then we're still treating him like order suppliers, like call. And nowadays you can order everything. You can order groceries from the supplier, they come and deliver it, and anything. You can order something on Amazon, it's there in 2 hours in your house. We treat Krishna like that. We want the gifts more than the giver. It should be like, I want you, Krishna. But we're not there yet. We are in a space of spiritual consumerism. And that mindset keeps our chanting shallow. Because love cannot grow where everything is transactional. Imagine someone says, I love you because you solve my problems. That is not love, that is convenience. Mahaprabhu gently exposes that. He's inviting us deeper. That anurag for the holy name, that's what we want. Do I actually want Krishna? Or mostly what Krishna can do for me? That question changes everything. It changes our chanting completely. Am I chanting for myself? Am I chanting to genuinely please the Lord? Am I taking from Krishna? Am I giving? Changes everything. We come to verse number 3. Trinadapi shunichena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Trinad, trin means a grass, a blade of grass. One who thinks himself lower than a blade of grass, who is more tolerant than a tree. Taror. Taru means tree. Lower than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, who does not expect personal honor, but is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. This is probably one of the most quoted verses in all of ISKCON. And honestly, maybe one of the least practiced. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. They're just quoting this. Be humble than the grass, more tall than the tree. Offer respect to everyone. Don't expect any respect for yourself. Now, this is important. This is not just nice moral advice of becoming a polite person so that you can function in society. No. This is technical instruction. Mahaprabhu is telling us how chanting actually becomes deep. Sometimes devotees ask, why is my japa dry? Why does my mind keep wandering? Why do I struggle to stay absorbed? Often the answer is not lack of technique. It's just too much ego coming in the way. Because our ego is noisy. Our pride is noisy. It's noisy. We are constantly being distracted by it. Our resentment is noisy. Our sense of entitlement is noisy. If I'm constantly replaying who offended me, who failed to appreciate me, who should have respected me more, then where's the space for Krishna's name to enter? We really saturate our minds with these things, so there's no more saturation, means there's no more room for anything else in there. We're propping up our ego again and again. The Nam, the name, enters where ego makes space. That is why humility is not decoration, it is qualification. Then, of course, the example of Tarori Vasayishna. The tree is beautiful. It's so beautiful. A tree gives shade even to the person who's about to cut it in the next half an hour. You can see that the person takes out his lunchbox. He sits under the tree, takes out his lunch, he's eating it, and looking at the tree. Okay, I'm going to cut it here. Then the tree keeps giving shade, even though it's going to be cut down. It tolerates so many things. It tolerates heat, tolerates rain, wind, neglect, and still continues to serve. I remember once seeing an old tree outside temple parking lot. People leaned bicycles on it, children climbed it. Sometimes they would even damage the branches. But every summer, it still gave the leaves and shade to everyone without discrimination. I don't recall the tree filing a complaint. Doesn't file complaints. That is a lesson. Tolerance doesn't mean becoming weak. It doesn't mean being a doormat, allowing abuse. That's not what I'm saying. Tolerance means strength under control. Means becoming inwardly steady. Yes, abuse is happening. We have to shut that down. That should not be tolerated. But if it's our own just false ego, trying to compete with Durvasa Muni, how much I can get offended. No, then there's a problem. A weak person reacts quickly. A strong person can remain peaceful. I'll give you an example. Srila Prabhupada was in the airplane once with his disciples, and they're flying. And back then, you may not believe this, but they used to allow smoking in the airplanes. I know it's ridiculous. I remember, there's a time where, yeah, there used to be smoking section in the airplane. Anyway, so that was one of those flights, right? And Prabhupada, of course, they were seated in the non-smoking section. However, the guy just behind Srila Prabhupada started smoking, lit up a cigarette and smoking. And the devotee, Prabhupada's disciple, he was sitting next to Prabhupada. He's getting very upset and angry at the guy. Look, you're not supposed to smoking here. You're supposed to smoke like 5 rows back, okay? And he was calling the stewardess and saying, Prabhupada, this is too much, unacceptable. I'm going to tell the stewardess to tell this guy to stop smoking. Prabhupada said, no, it's okay, just tolerate it. If we cannot tolerate even this little inconvenience, then what's the difference between us and them? Just tolerate, it's okay, whatever. It's not a big deal. He tolerated that. A weak person reacts quickly, a strong person can remain peaceful. Mahaprabhu is teaching us spiritual steadiness, not passivity, but unshakability. That kind of humility makes constant chanting possible because now we can allow the name to enter our hearts. Because now we have space. Okay, maybe you can hold on to ego a little bit, but leave a little space to come. Let the Lord come inside and wash away the rest of the ego. But we don't even give him that much room. Yeah. And we become super expert at other things. What is that? False humility. Humility is one of the most misunderstood words in spiritual life. Sometimes humility, people think that humility is like constantly saying, I am terrible, I'm useless, I'm the worst, I'm fallen, I'm hopeless, there's no chance for me. No. Honestly, that is often not humility at all. That is basically ego wearing simple clothes. It still revolves around me. I am this and I am bad and I am terrible. I'm the center of this whole story. I'm the center of this conversation. False humility is still self-absorption. It's still selfish self-consciousness. Real humility is very different. Real humility is Krishna-centered. It sounds more like this. I belong to Krishna. My worth comes from my service to Krishna, my connection with Krishna. I do not need to be the center. I do not need everyone to validate me. I don't need it. It's not important to me at all. A truly humble person is usually very peaceful, not dramatic, not constantly announcing how fallen they are, just peaceful. Because they are no longer spending all their energy to defend a false identity. That's tiresome, actually. It's exhausting to do that. I once watched a senior devotee being publicly corrected for something very small. There was no defensiveness, no tension, no need to protect the ego. He simply smiled and said, "Thank you, Prabhu, I will improve." Very senior devotee, he's a Prabhupada disciple. That simplicity was more powerful than 100 lectures on humility. Because humility is not what we say about ourselves. It's about how lightly we carry ourselves. Leave behind this exhaustion and the weight of false humility. The nice quote I've heard many times from different devotees and different leaders. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but it's thinking of yourself less. That's why advanced devotees feel safe to be around. We want to be around them. There's no pressure coming from them at all. There's no judgment. There's no demand. There's no performance. Only service. How can I give Krishna to others? That's real humility. How can I genuinely be a caring person for somebody? That's humility. So that was verse number 3. Now we go to verse number 4. Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhaktirahaytuki tvayi. O Lord of the universe, Jagadish, I do not desire material wealth or materialistic followers, a beautiful wife, or fruitive activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. Bhavatad means unto you. Bhaktir ahaituki. Ahaituki means something without any selfish motives. What is that? Bhakti. Bhaktir ahaituki. Unmotivated devotional service. That's all I want. You know the clue here. He's not even saying I want liberation. What's the clue? He said Janmani Janmani Shure. Life after life. Life after life means I don't mind the cycle of life and death. Life after life. That's not important to me. I want bhakti to you. That's important. Here Mahaprabhu is asking one of the most uncomfortable questions in spiritual life. Why am I serving? Why am I really here? He's already excluded this moksha as a goal. I don't want wealth. I don't want followers. I don't want beauty. I don't want, very attractive spouses or mates. I don't want that. I don't even want liberation. I only want causeless devotion to you, birth after birth. That's radical. Even moksha, liberation itself, is rejected. Why? Because love is greater than escape from pain, from inconveniences. Most religion, we recognize God as part of religion. Most religion, if we're honest, is still a transaction. I serve so I get something. Get protection of my assets and my stuff. Get success, so I can show off. I get a sense of even peace, yeah. I get a sense of security and peace, mental peace. Recognition, I want that. People should know me when I go somewhere. They should, yeah, this person, amazing. I want that. Maybe not material recognition, but even spiritual recognition. Oh, yeah, nice devotee. I want to be seen as sincere. I want to be respected as advanced. We want to be sincere, of course. We want to be advanced, of course. But we want the respect also. that's problematic. Because even that can become a subtle ambition. And again, we're saturating our mind with the ego of ambition. Mahaprabhu tears through all that right now, right through this. Pure devotion means what? Even if nothing comes, there's no results of so-called results, I still serve. Bhavatat bhaktir. Janmani janmanishwari. Even if life remains difficult, I still serve. Not like, oh, well, if Krishna wanted me to serve, he would not have made life so difficult. So obviously he doesn't want me to be devotee. No, I still serve. Even if I must return birth after birth, I still serve. That is real love. I remember hearing about a mother caring for a child through years of illness. You know how hard that is. Working very hard. No applause, no recognition, no guarantee of comfort, just love. She is not doing it because of a reward. She is doing it because love did not ask for a contract. Those who dedicate their lives to serving, and even people who are just illness ridden day after day, week after week, year after year, selflessly. It's love. It's not a contract, it's not a transaction. That is the spirit here. When devotion becomes love instead of negotiation, then finally something becomes peaceful in our heart. Then finally we can get a glimpse of what it means to be happy. Ambition is exhausting because it keeps you running on the treadmill, on the, not even treadmill, the hamster wheel. Always calculating, always comparing, always asking, what's in it for me? What am I getting out of this? But love is restful. This verse becomes a mirror for all of us. What am I actually serving Krishna for? Why am I serving Krishna? Why do I want to be a devotee? Why do I hang out with these devotees? What is my motivation? That question is worth sitting with for a long time. Sit with that question. Spend all day with it. Don't think of anything else. Why am I doing this? Ask 5 times and again 50 times, why am I doing this? Come to the core of it. If at the bottom, at the rock bottom, it's not love, reevaluate. Bhavatat bhaktir ahetuki tvai. Only love, completely unmotivated for anything else. Na dhanam, no wealth. Na janam. Janam means people, people who admire me, people who follow me, people who do stuff for me. I don't want that. I don't care. Na sundarim, very beautiful people to hang out with. I don't want this. You are Jagadish. You are the Lord of the universe. I want you. I want bhakti to you. Please help me with this. Let's sit with this question. So today, these first 4 verses have brought us to the real beginning of spiritual life. Not the external beginning, not the day we first walked into a temple. Of course, those are very important milestones. We don't want to forget that. And not the day we got initiated even. Not the day we learned how to use big spiritual words in the right way. No, the real beginning. The day when the heart becomes honest. That's what you want to put on your calendar. Yes, that's the day. We saw how the holy name begins by cleansing the mirror of consciousness. Cheto darpanamajanam. Prabhupada always explained this mirror analogy. You can see like a lens of a camera, right? You have to clean that. It stores impressions lifetime after lifetime. But dust gathers there. What is the dust? Attachments, ego, fear, pride, the hurt. So old memories of hurts that have really gotten us hard. Can't forget them. And subtle selfishness. These are things that masquerade in the name of self-respect, but they have to be shed. Chanting is not just a ritual. It's not ritualistic. It's a cleansing of that mirror. We learned that Krishna has already given unlimited mercy by placing all his potencies in his holy name. The problem is not that he's not accessible. The problem is that our attraction is weak, nanuraga. We saw that humility is not optional. That's verse number 3. It's the doorway. Without humility, deeper nama does not happen. And we saw that motive matters more than image. Why am I serving? Do I want Krishna? Or do I mostly want comfort and recognition and peace and validation? Spiritual prestige. These first 4 verses, they force that honesty if we're listening. Of course, our rascaldom is such that we'll even recite these 4 verses ritualistically. So these verses are important. And this is something very beautiful, is what the Siksastakam appears at the very end of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The final chapter of the final section is Antilila, chapter 20. That is not accidental. It's almost as if after all the theology, all the amazing lila, all the philosophy, all the debates, all the ecstasy, Mahaprabhu brings us to the essence. The book ends not with external conclusions, but with the Lord absorbed in ecstasy, inviting us, all of us, to also become absorbed in remembrance of Krishna. That means Siksastakam is not just instructions, although Shiksha means instructions, but it's not just that. Siksastakam is an invitation card to spiritual world. It's not merely 8 teachings. It's the progressive unfolding of our heart. It's a roadmap of the spirit soul that wants to progress to the love of the Lord. And there's something else important. There should be a healthy tension between where we are and where we aspire to be. There should be a pull. That gap should not make us artificial. It should make us sincere. If I pretend to be more advanced than I am, then that creates a distance between me and others and leads to offenses. But if I honestly acknowledge, this is where I am, that very tension becomes the force that helps me move forward. Before we reach bhav, before there are genuine tears, before ecstasy, before the advanced discussion of rasa and tattva and those kind of rasa tattva, there must be honesty. And that is where spiritual life truly begins. Not when we look advanced, but when we stop pretending, finally. When we can honestly say, my chanting is distracted. Nanuraga. My motives, they're not pure, they're mixed. My ego is very loud. My dependence on Krishna, it's pretty lame, it's pretty weak. Instead of hiding that, instead of decorating it with spiritual language, we place all this honestly before Krishna. We don't need to tell others, we just place it before Krishna. That honesty is powerful because our pretension blocks our mercy. That mercy that, it's our birthright. Mercy of the Lord is a birthright. But our pretension is blocking the flow of that mercy. Pretension says, I'm fine, very good. Honesty says, my Lord, I need you. Krishna responds to that. That is the doorway. That is where real bhakti begins. So in the next session, we'll move deeper. We'll go into the next 4 verses, the final ones, where we talk about dependence, longing, separation, and finally prema. But unless these 4 verses become very real in our lives, these later verses will remain just beautiful poetry instead of a lived reality. Siksastakam is not asking us to stand at a distance, from a distance, and admire, oh yeah, it's nice, love is so beautiful. No. Siksastakam is inviting us to come in and become qualified to enter that love. Shri Shri Siksastakam ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you all very much for your kind attention and your valuable time. I appreciate all of you joining. Seeing some of you makes me very, gives me great encouragement. So, Hare Krishna. So we have a few minutes. We can open up if you want to share any thoughts, have any comments or questions. Hare Krishna. Please go ahead, Gail. Yes. Sorry, I'm muted. And then after that, Vidhi.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, when you were telling the story of Srila Prabhupada on the plane and the person was smoking behind him, it remind me of a question that I have about at what point should we tolerate or not tolerate something, especially when we can do something about it. I understood your point there that we should not be like reactive, but when there is something within our control that we can take steps to ameliorate a situation, why not do it?
Yeah, this is interesting. There's one very nice lecture the Prabhupada is talking about. He says, when a devotee is being offended, then another devotee will go and fight. And then Prabhupada quoted this verse, and it's interesting. He says, not at that time, Trinadapi Sunichana. He literally quotes this verse and says, that's not when you apply Trinadapi Sunichana. So it answers your question. There are times when this verse is not applicable, and there are times, and that's the case with every verse. Every verse can be misapplied. You see, every verse. That's why your question is very relevant, very important. You see, so I don't know if you can find. You can look it up. It can be hard to find, but I heard it. I found it very intriguing. That when a devotee is being offended, you have to stand up and correct. But if I'm being insulted, who cares? Whatever. But right. So it doesn't mean becoming spineless or enabling adharma or abuse or silently allowing this kind of crimes to happen when we could do something about it. Like you said, I can do something about it. I can be a whistleblower or whatever, within my power. You see, this Trinadapi verse is about cultivating our inner consciousness, necessary for pure chanting. Freedom from ego, from pride, and unnecessary reaction. It's not a simply question that should I tolerate or should I act? The real question is this. Am I reacting from wounded ego or am I responding to service to Krishna? Say you want to protect the children who are being abused. Well, we act, do everything in our power. That's service to Krishna. That's the dividing line. It's not about it, Okay, fine. When should I tolerate? That's why I give that example. The examples make things clear. I gave an example of Prabhupada tolerating the smoking, right? When the issue is mainly about my personal inconvenience, someone didn't respect me, someone overlooked me, someone did not appreciate my service, someone didn't say, "Oh, that was a great class, Prabhu." I'm like, "Oh, why didn't you say that? Come on, you should have said that." No. Or someone spoke sharply to me, right? Most of our suffering comes from this notion that I deserved better. The grass does not protest being stepped on. Say, I deserve better. All these people stepping on me. No, that's not the Bhisha nature. That's where humility is our medicine. Now, sometimes Krishna sends the friction to expose our hidden pride. Our false prestige is challenged. Krishna puts it in us, in our lives. I thought I was advanced until somebody ignored me. And then I realized, I felt so much pain. Then I realized, oh, you're not advanced, dude. You have a long way to go. That's very useful for us. It's useful for us. Tree tolerance means I will still serve. Not because injustice is good, but because my ego is not the center of the universe. Right? Krishna is the center of the universe. It says Jagadish Kamaye. See, Jagadish, you are the Lord of the universe. Not me. I'm not the Lord of the universe. You are the Lord of the universe. Jagadish. But until this time, I think I'm the Lord of the universe because the universe revolves around me. It does. In one sense, the universe revolves around me because I'm sitting here, I'm the center, and everything else moves around it. And from my point of view, it's relative motion. Everything is around me. But we have to recognize, no, Krishna is the center. And I think it's about temporary discomfort, temporary, say, inconvenience or discomfort. We take them on. We fast on certain days and all that. But other things like heat, cold, fatigue, discomfort, we power through them sometimes, right? To serve the Lord. The tree sitting outside the tree tolerates the seasons. So our devotional life also requires some endurance. Not every discomfort needs massive intervention. See. Now there are times when we have to speak up. Tolerance is not permission for adharma. Our silence should not become irresponsibility. When you see something, say something. There are times when others are being harmed, when there's abuse, there's exploitation, there's manipulation, there's injustice, especially toward children and women and devotees, the vulnerable. Silence here is not humility, it's cowardice. Prahlad tolerated personal suffering. But Arjuna was told to fight. Both are bhakti. See? It's all about context. Is that okay, Gail Mataji? Does that address?
Oh, perfectly, Prabhu. It's just one last thing I want to say about it is that, even when, because, you were saying that we should speak up, especially when it concerns protecting others. But if we ourselves are not at that level of spiritual advancement where we can just take anything from anybody, we have our limits. So I feel like to tolerate something that's beyond our limit to tolerate in the name of humility is also not a service, because that could be like a little self-damaging too, to try to tolerate more
It's
than
always
we.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's always a balance. See, we can't expect to jump. It's like I give the example of weight training a lot in my classes because a lot of our development is similar to that. It takes time. Like I want to be able to lift 300 pounds, but I can only lift 30 pounds right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I try to lift that 300 pounds, I'll get myself injured. So certain things. But I have to challenge myself to move to 40 pounds. I can't just keep,
Mm-hmm.
see. So I have to gradually learn to tolerate things that I wasn't able to tolerate before.
Yes, yes.
So we have to move to that space of it's not a comfort zone. It's beyond our comfort zone. That's where the
The
growth
stretch zone, they
the
say.
growth happens there. But if you go too far, then you get a breaking zone where you damage.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to have the sharpness and intelligence to see, am I stretching in the stretch zone, or am I just so comfortable in my comfort zone and justifying my intolerance? And then it'll just be life after life of no progress. So we need progress.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Mhm.
Yes. Vidhi Mataji, please go ahead. Yeah, and then I think I don't know if there's some things in the chat. Yes, Venu Madhu kindly shared the quote from Prabhupada's lecture in 1976. This is 50 years ago. Yes, please look at that. It's about Hanumanji, and he didn't tolerate the defamation or the offense to the Lord. So like that. Vaishnava is never angry, but does not mean that you tolerate insult to Vishnu and Vaishnava. No. Yes, thank you. Yes, Vidhi, please go ahead.
So I have two questions, or I could have more. First, what I picked up on, and maybe that's what's running in my mind at the moment, is ambition is exhausting. Um, Obviously, the world we live in involves a lot of ambitious individuals who are getting taken over by tech. You've got companies like Apple that are continuously building new products, coming out, etc. Now, obviously, without that, we wouldn't be where we are in this modern society. So I just want to understand, if you weren't ambitious or you didn't, because I feel like somewhere Apple was given, I mean, Steve Jobs was given the um, signal from Lord Krishna that you are going to serve this part of the universe, or you are the one that's going to set up this through you will innovation technology emerge in this world. So then, where do you draw the line between people who are highly successful, or tech companies or businesses that are highly successful? If ambition is exhausting, then we wouldn't be where we are in 2026. So I just want to understand: is it bad to have ambition, to have a better life, or to have access to better things? Because clearly he's obviously looking at competition. If he's not going to look at competition, Samsung would have done Apple a long time ago, where you're encouraged to constantly push yourself to progress. But then that also comes with innovative ways, new technology, new softwares. We're able to do Zoom calls today thanks to somebody being ambitious and somebody thought through, let's keep it, it's COVID. Let's see how we can still be connected through AI. So I'm a little confused on that, because I understand comparison, like, oh, my friend's got a bigger house, I need to get a bigger house. That's exhausting. You need to do it if you are aligned and you want to, that's something that resonates with your spirit and your blueprint. But that I understand is, oh, okay, this one's got it, I need to have it. This one, a lot of societies work like that. Whereas ambition, where Apple is concerned, or for example, a hotel chain like Raffles is concerned, or a construction company is concerned, or Elon Musk, Tesla is concerned. If there was no ambition, how would he add value to this world? Maybe he's been served by Lord Krishna to actually do this. But I wanted a bit more clarity on that.
Sure. Yes. And this is a very common question, and it's a very important one because there's a subtle difference. Ambition becomes exhausting when it stops being a tool and it becomes our identity. See, the problem is usually not the work. The problem is this: it's this silent belief that my worth, my self-worth, my identity depends on my achievements, external achievements. That belief drains, it even drains our success. So devoting the professional world, I know you're in the professional world, recruiting and so on. It's all about consciousness, right? We must learn the difference between excellence and ego-driven ambition. We want to do excellent work. We're working. I want to do excellence, super. And I want to be innovative. I want to be inventive. I want to, create the next generation iPad, which is 10 times better than the current one. I want to include these features. The next iPhone should have, of course, a nice camera, but maybe you should have a shaver because we want to add more things to it. I don't know. You want to be more creative, right? I mean, I'm only going to upgrade my iPhone now if it has a shaver in it because and I don't know what else he's going to do with it, you know. Anyway, we want to be excellent in our work, but it's not ego-driven ambition that spoils our identity of servant of the Lord. Material ambition says, I must become important. Devotional excellence says, I must become useful. You see, in bhakti, my value, we should know, comes from being Krishna's servant, not from KPIs and performance metrics, key performance indicators. In material life, you know, it's like if I slow down, I become less valuable. I'll be fired, I'll be laid off. Material ambition seeks this sort of external validation. Devotional work is always looking for offering. What can I offer? You see. So we have to understand it's about the consciousness and where the ego comes in. You know, it's all about me. Excellence, you want to do, Krishna's given intelligence, use it. Krishna's given you the ability to be innovative, use it, invent things. Compete with Elon Musk, make the next Tesla 10 times better. Go ahead, do it. There was a time when Elon Musk was nobody. The time when, you know, Steve Jobs was nobody, or Bill Gates. They just went ahead and did their excellent work. What is written for them, they're going to do anyway. They're, like you said, Krishna arranged for him to be the conduit for the technology to come through. Ultimately, Krishna says, I'm the ability in man, I'm the strength of the strong, the intelligence of the intelligent people. So Krishna is the one who empowered them to do that anyway. So when we are empowered to do certain things, we should not see it as separate. The only thing is we should not feel this me. It says, you know, let this now spotlight be on me. Our focus should be, can I bring Krishna more in the center? That's where the ambition means keep pushing spotlight toward me instead of Krishna. That's what ambition we're talking about, you see. Yeah. Yes, Vidhi, go ahead. Your finger is
yeah.
up. That means you have a follow-up question. Yes.
Yeah, I do. So I want to use Ambani's as an example here. And I'm sure everyone's familiar with them. Excellent job what they're doing. And this is something that occurs to me all the time. They are basically killing businesses in Mumbai. Anybody that doesn't obey is a word. So they're like an oligarch of India today. He's built relations with people from all ilks, the political parties, the local government, name it. And the social media, I mean, he's a money generating magnet at the end of the day. Highly spiritual human beings doing a lot of good for the country, put India on the global map. But I feel like the spotlight's all about me, me, me. Now, I know that a lot of other billionaires in India that don't do me, me, me. They are recognized, but they're not, on the center of social media all the time with fashion, with spirituality, with celebrating Lord Krishna's birthday. You see it all at the weddings. Whilst I understand that they are given the source from Lord Krishna to do what they're doing to put India on the global map and reduce the way we are treated, maybe in the global map. Like, for example, there's been a lot of things on Prada, on Kolhapuri chappals. That's a very classic example where Indian artisans were not recognized. And Ambani's are putting Indian artisans on the map. So I know how importantly they're adding value to a large extent. But then somewhere I feel it's very egocentric, where it's all about them now, but they're still succeeding. They're climbing new heights. They are doing very well. So I'm a little confused in terms of how is it that if I become egocentric, I'm leading to my downfall. I know it. I see it in my environment. I see it with myself. The minute it's about me, it becomes I'm consumed, right? But for them, it feels like, okay, the next press, the next release. So where does that sort of, or is it what we are looking at it from external perspective, and that's how it's coming across?
Well, the Ambanis are not the yardstick for our spiritual progress, you know. So we don't look at them that way anyway, right? Their lives are very complicated, and we don't want to be the Ambanis. Most of us, actually, those who are devotees don't want to be in the shoes of Ambanis, trust me. Those are very progressive because all that weight, you have no time. You think Ambanis have time to do 16 rounds? Forget it. It's not going to happen. Just your personal assistants will eat up your head. So it's we don't use those examples as examples to follow. We see them as successful in their goals. Krishna has awarded them all that success. But we also see where the downfall comes in, you know? I mean, if you're a devotee and say your son has a wedding, you're not going to spend $20 million to call dancers from America to dance in raunchy clothes in front of other people with raunchy music and call it, okay, this is a display of my wealth. I paid 20 million to this movie star, this rock star, and 50 million to that one. I spent 300 million on the wedding. That's not, I mean, that's Ambani's did that. Devotees, we don't do that, right? We'd rather build more temples or something, or even just distribute sadham. Of course, they did distribute whatever, their entire wedding was completely vegetarian. It was sattvic, and it was all prasadam. I think even they even brought many devotees to come as VIP guests. It's all wonderful, but it's all mixed, right? It's a mixed bag, isn't it? They didn't just have only devotees on the stage. That kind of money could have done so much more. So yeah, whatever. We don't want to judge people for that. Krishna's given them money, they're spending how they want. They'll have to deal with the consequences of how they spend their money. They'll deal with consequences of who they're crushing with their ambitious juggernaut. They have to deal with the karmic reactions. We don't want to deal with that footprint. We want to minimize our karmic footprint. We want to minimize the false ego. Yes, it's wonderful that they're devotees of Krishna. Nita Ambani will do a dance in front of the massive statue of, Srinathji. We've seen all that. It's wonderful, so it's a mixed bag. And maybe we can extend that analogy to ourselves, that we're also mixed bag, because we're conditioned. Maybe at a much smaller scale, but we're Ambanis ourselves to a much smaller scale. We want Krishna. We want to dance in front of a big statue of Krishna, but we also have other ambitions, small ones, maybe not so big. And maybe there'll be a situation where we won't hesitate throwing somebody on the bus for our material progress. Maybe it won't be 10 million artisans, but it might be one person who just, who knows, right? So when we look at these very complex situations, and they do consume us in the sense that, we read about it, everybody's talking about it, and so we think about them, right? We think, how does it apply to us? What can I learn from here? What is the downfall of ambition? Where can it be misplaced? Where can that energy be better utilized? Where can the resource be better invested? All those questions should come back to bring us to reflection. The Bhagavatam is full of stories of Indra. Indra is Ambani of that time. Very powerful, very wealthy. He's a devotee too. Indra is a devotee. He's demigods, all devotees. Right? We see the stories of Indra constantly falling, tripping on his own wealth and power. He thought he could flood Vrindavan, and Krishna lifted Govardhan, completely broke his pride. Indra's pride is broken all the time by Krishna. Krishna still keeps him on the payroll, even though he's constantly messing things up. He has to deal with his karma. So this is something for us to learn as well. Do I want to be Indra, or do I want to be the Vrajvasis with Krishna? All right, Vidhi?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, once again, thank you very much for your participation. I see Hoshil wrote something. Hoshil, he says, regarding the point of wrong application of Trinadapi Sunichena, I read once in a disciple of Srila Prabhupada's book that not speaking up when another devotee is being criticized wrongly is basically committing the first offense, as you're participating by not intervening in the blasphemy of a devotee. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, that, Prabhupada said, not at that time, Trinadapi Sunichena. We use that to bolster our cowardice. And when we defend ourselves when criticized, it is the false ego in full display. That's why spiritual culture encourages us to speak up for others and not defend ourselves. We may have to defend ourselves sometimes if it's something that's truly enabling abuse from somebody and they're constantly doing it. We have to defend ourselves. It's not that we don't defend ourselves ever, you see. So it is a judgment call that we have to apply our intelligence. And in spiritual culture, we wouldn't need to defend ourselves as would be done by others. Yeah, we don't need, if everybody's around us is cultured, then of course we don't need to defend ourselves. Okay. Okay. Estel Sanya says, you talk about being able to chant anywhere, the street and traffic. Are we really chanting if we're distracted or having to also be present in the material world? When you say, are we really chanting? So yes, when you're driving the car, you could be singing something silly, which is not Krishna conscious, or you could be singing Krishna's name. Which would you rather be doing when you're driving the car? Yes, it's not fully focused because you're focusing on the road. But which would you rather be doing if you're caught unawares, say in a car accident or something? You know, if you're chanting some silly modern song, which is just meaningless, or you're chanting Krishna's names or kirtan or bhajan, we don't know when we have to leave. So yes, it's not really chanting in the sense that you're not, sitting in a quiet space with your japa beads and focusing with your eyes closed. It's not exactly the same level, but it's still chanting and it's still very powerful. You'd rather be doing that than anything else. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, yes, Vidhi, yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, I just had something else come up. So
Don't be
it's a
sorry. Don't
personal.
be sorry.
It's a personal one. So I'm in a particular environment, and this is what I'm trying to relate to our lecture today, where I feel like wherever I'm going, the door is closed. Whatever I'm trying to do, the door is closed. So I'm getting the signal saying, okay, this is not the way you need to walk. This door is closed. This door is closed. This door is closed. So I'm kind of going in circles thinking, okay, all these doors are closed, and how can I be innovative here? What else can I do in order to achieve or add value? Because I'm in a place where I'm adding value most of the time by providing my services, and that leads to results. So how, in that sort of scenario where you obviously it's not impacting me from inside, I'm just like, okay, interesting, I could be highly reactive, the steadiness inside can be affected, but externally I'm thinking, okay, this is not going to suffice my goals here in the environment I'm in. Externally, if these doors are closed and I'm not achieving what I'm supposed to achieve at work, for example, or personal life. So I'm just trying to understand, okay, where I keep asking, okay, show me the door, please. What other door can open, etc. But it seems like it's a cycle, and I'm watching a lot of doors just shutting on me continuously. So I'm just trying to understand, what does one do in that situation? Whilst I do my clearing and my chantings, I'm sitting there and thinking, okay, is my time up? Do I need to move on to different things? Or do I still have time remaining here? Because these doors constantly are slamming on my face on a regular basis.
Mhm. Yes, this is a very good question. We all face these questions when we see the doors closing in our lives. Doors closing meaning some opportunities we thought were important and for the advancement of our careers, perhaps. Um, I feel is this some kind of message from Krishna, perhaps, or should I just keep doing, keep knocking more doors and just keep trying, or does it mean that I should stop now? This one way to see this is maybe Krishna is protecting me from what's on the other side of that door. I may think that's what I need, but maybe Krishna is protecting me, and that's not what I need. There's a guy who applied for an engineering job at Facebook many years ago when Facebook was not even a publicly traded company. He really liked the concept and he wanted to apply for the job, and he was a very good engineer, but he didn't get accepted. They slammed the door in his face. The door closed. So he was a little down and said, you know what? I'll just start my own little thing. So he started tinkering and built his own little product. A few years later, he sold that product to Facebook for $19 billion. And now he sits on the board of directors of Facebook. $19 billion, 16 billion in Facebook stock, and 3 billion in cash. If he had got that job, he would be an engineer making, not 19 billion, but a little bit. So Krishna protected him from that success, for this success. At that time, he didn't have that vision. Obviously, he had no visibility, right? So my point is not that we should always see these as reversals necessarily, especially if you start seeing patterns. Yes, that's right. Jyoti is correct. That's WhatsApp. WhatsApp was a product that was sold for 19. The guy who developed WhatsApp wanted first to work for Facebook. You see. So, and now WhatsApp has more users than Facebook does, right? So my point is that sometimes we may think this is bad for me, just like that guy was must be crushed. Like, I'm the best engineer, I know it. This is awful. I can't believe I was rejected, right? And here we are. And today, the 16 billion of stock, you can imagine what it's worth now. That was like, right? So my point is, not everything that happens to us is bad. And if we're genuinely honest and humble, and I'm not saying you don't try, you use your maximum intelligence. Use your intelligence, okay? Don't put it aside and say, and I'm not saying you give up. Use intelligence to, but also think, do I need to cut my losses? Get maybe some input from those who are wise in your field, those who have seen better things. Get some inputs, becoming devotee doesn't mean we stop talking to people for their advice if they're experts in that field. We still do it, because we're using our intelligence for Krishna's service. So do your best in intelligence. But sometimes we see certain patterns. The point is not to be so dejected and crushed and define yourself by this. This is just one life. Don't make a big deal of it. The real big deal is Krishna in our hearts. Other things they come and go. End of life, it's not going to matter how many times you went on luxury vacations. What matters how many times you thought of Krishna. Not going to matter how much money you end up saving and you died a rich person. You're better off dying poor and having spent the money properly. So those kind of things, you have to reflect on a lot of things like that. The world is changing very rapidly right now, substantially. Your industry is insane. I mean, I'm in the same industry as you, not exactly recruiting, but technology. And we see everything is topsy-turvy with AI taking everyone for a spin. And we don't know where it's going to end up in the next 3 years. The whole world is going to look different. We don't know. We just take it as no, we don't know. So, all right. Okay, Vidhi.
Thank you.
Yes. Bhavini, please go ahead.
Hi, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for going through the first 4 verses. I find, and you spoke about how Krishna's mercy is a birthright. So I find that sometimes to go beyond these 4 verses, I find it very difficult. And I get stuck where you go back to the first verse again and you think, oh, back here again. So how do you keep that, the endeavor is there, but then how do that patience and the endurance of waiting, how do you stay motivated?
Yes. Yeah, it's hard to progress beyond those 4 verses. In fact, if we just stay in those 4 verses, that's also good. If we can actually stay absorbed in the goals of those 4 verses, that's wonderful. In this lifetime, we can do that. If we can do Trinada Sunijana in this lifetime, that's huge. How to stay motivated. Utsaha Nishchaya Dhairya. You must be familiar with that verse. This verse is from Nectar of Instruction. Nectar of Instruction is a guidebook on this question, how to stay motivated. It's the motivating book. It's the set of verses that will teach us how to stay motivated. The Nectar of Instruction. Utsaha Nishya Dhairya. Utsaha means enthusiasm. Nishya means determination. Dhairya means patience. Those 3 things are essential. And there's 3 other things also, the 6. But those 3 things. How to maintain, okay, fine. Then you're just stepping the question back again, kicking the can down the road. Okay, how do I be enthusiastic? How do I make my determination stronger? How do I be more patient? It all boils down to one thing that's a common thread in Nectar of Instruction, which is Sangha. Sangha, who you hang out with. Nectar of Instruction is only 11 verses, and a whole bunch of verses after those are about Sangha. How to choose the right Sangha, how to avoid the wrong Sangha, how to keep your distance from certain people, how to come closer to certain people, how to determine that. And then once you determine which ones you want to hang out with, how to interact with them, what are the exchanges of love, uh, how to discern, what are wrong ways to discern that could actually damage you. It's all about choosing your association, choosing the persons who you want to be influenced by. The most powerful way to stay motivated is to spend time with those who are motivated. And the most easy way to lose our motivation is spend time with those who are themselves not examples of practice properly. We'll get demotivated. So the key is Sangha. Sangha, ga means to go, sang means to with. You go with somebody. Go where? Where they're going, that's where you go. If they're going somewhere, you'll be with them. You see, Sangati. So yes, it seems like a pat answer. Yeah, choose the right answer. But it is really powerful. It is the answer that's provided by Rupa Goswami to your question. How do I stay motivated? How do I be a particular thing? Just find the birds of that feather and you just go hang out with them. That's our challenge. All right.
Yeah, thank you. I think I have heard this, and Sangha is the most important. Lessons of devotees can take you and help you in the mercy of the devotees. And I suppose, in a way, you have to be careful who you associate with. They can, if you're not so steady or so strong, then you yourself become fragile. So, and then to isolate yourself is not the answer either. But again, praying to Krishna as well to send someone to you to help you. That's not wrong either, is it?
Of course, that's wonderful. See, that's the thing. When the disciple is ready, the guru appears. When the devotee is ready for right association, the right association appears. But we have to, like you say, pray to Krishna for the right association. Now, again, in the Nectar of Instruction, there's a verse that Rupa Goswami tells us about. Okay, now there's a crowd of devotees. They're all devotees, they have tilak, everything. Among that crowd, there are a few who you want to really get close to, you want to become friends with. There are a few who are so great you want to serve them. And then there are some who you want to kind of keep your distance. He talks about all those three. And he tells us that's important for us to recognize those three so that we know who to serve, who to be friends with, and who to keep distance. All of them we respect. We bow down to all of them. But some of them we come much closer. That's all discussed in Nectar of Instruction. That's what I'm saying. That's the book. You read the purports, you go deeper into it, try to apply it in your life. If you apply it, you'll see the magic work. All your questions answered there.
Thank you, Prabhu. It's interesting, isn't it, how you read these books, when you first begin, and then you move on to other things. And it's because you mentioned it, I will go back and read it again. So thank you.
If you're interested, we actually have a series on this where I explore this book in depth on YouTube. You can find it. It's a playlist that covers maybe Venumadhuri Mataji. You might be able to share that playlist. But I think, was it 6 episodes? I don't know how many episodes it was, but we took about every verse and we explored it in the modern context, how we in ISKCON can apply these to bolster our motivation, to strengthen them, how to associate devotees, who to associate with. In the modern day in the West, in the UK, with big circle of devotees, how to navigate that and make the best use of our time with them. So you can look at that. If you're interested, you can take a look. It's on YouTube. We did spend a bit of time developing that course, so perhaps you might find it useful. But you can check it out if you like.
Okay, I will do. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Right. Let's see. Someone else wrote here. Vivek Kumar wrote, I have a question will follow. We follow Arya Samaj philosophy, which is close to Mayavad, not done Murti Puja at all. I have been chanting and listening to Katha and visiting temples and loving to be close to Krishna by these means. However, I have a little fear in my mind that I am doing different to what my parents, grandparents been doing. Keep reminding myself that Krishna is the ultimate God. I request if you could please share your wisdom how to tackle the situation. Thank you for all the services. Okay. Yes. Great question, Vivek. I'm not that familiar with Arya Samaj, but like you said, if they're in Mayavad, then yeah, we don't subscribe to the idea that Krishna is not God. We accept Bhagavad Gita as it's stated, as it is, as it's written. With Mayavadi philosophies, they will say, yeah, Bhagavad Gita is all correct, but we don't take it as it's stated. We will change the meaning ourselves. That's why they don't do as it is. We follow as it is. That's why we have the name as it is. There's a reason why we have it, because we take Bhagavad Gita at face value. When Krishna says, I'm God, we accept him as God. You see, whereas with Mayavadis, they'll say, yeah, he says he's God, but he's not really, God. He's all of us are God. So we don't accept that because that's not what Krishna says. It's quite as simple as that. If we are accepting Bhagavad Gita, then we follow Bhagavad Gita as it's written. And it's simple as that. Now, it doesn't matter whether my grandfather, great grandfather, has been following this particular line or that particular line. The misunderstandings of the scriptures have been going on from time immemorial. Our great grandfathers have been doing this. Mayavad has been around since the creation of the universe. It's just an outgrowth of our selfishness. That's all. That philosophy where we want to deny God's godliness. So that's not a new thing, you see. So, yes, if you're fortunate enough to break that generational cycle, that no, I'm not going to subscribe to any philosophy that's offensive to the Lord anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm going to go my own way. Yes, I bow down to you, my fathers, great grandfathers, all of you. You're wonderful. I'm your descendant. All respect to you. Kindly bless me that I can explore Bhagavad Gita as it is and follow this path, which is the natural extension, natural evolution in our growth of spiritual understanding. So we can approach it that way. And while still giving full respect to our elders, continue on the path of exploring Krishna consciousness. We all have to do that. I didn't come from a line of ISKCON devotees myself. I had to take it up on my own. And that's okay. We have to make our own discernment. The discernment to distinguish what is right and what's wrong. It's known as Vivek. Your name is Vivek. So that's what you want to do. Okay? Hare Krishna. Yes, Jyoti, you had your hand up for a second. You have a comment or question?
Pranam Maharaj.
Hare
Can you
Krishna.
hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
So I haven't started meditating yet. I've put a question in the chat regarding this, where it went down or up, I think. And
Oh, yeah, it must have gone buried. Let me see if I can
yeah.
find it.
So while I'm here, it's that I read that it's dhyan, dharana, and samadhi,
Yes.
and so you start with japa meditation, and then you slowly go into dhyan. It's not very clear actually that what happens and how long in somebody's or your personal experience it takes. Uh, and it's like, because I want to I'm born in a Hindu family, and I of course have read um, some books, but I want to feel instead of just मानना नहीं है, जानना है, जानना है. I want to feel. And so I was thinking of taking the meditation route, and I don't know how it works. So I just wanted some guidance regarding that.
मानना भी नहीं है, जानना भी नहीं है, महसूस करना है. फर्क इतना है. So we don't want just to believe. We don't want just to know. We want to experience, and that's what you're asking, to actually experience it. You know, it's one thing to believe that there's such a thing as honey. Oh yeah, I believe honey exists. I've heard about it. And then another thing to have a jar in front of you and read about, oh, this is it. Now I see it. Now I know. That's Janna. Manna means to believe. Janna means to know. Now, yeah, here it is. Look at the label. It has, wow, it's collected and made with clover, and like the bees collecting from clover flowers, and it's fragrance. I heard it's really nice. It's described on the bottle. That is Janna. But the experience, no amount of words, no amount of philosophy can substitute the experience of opening the jar and tasting the honey for yourself. You have to taste it. You have to taste it. So that is bhakti. Now, the yoga system that you mentioned, right? It has dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Those are the last three, but you have to do all eight. There's a, right? Eightfold system. You have to do all eight. You can't jump to dharana, dhyan, samadhi. You can't even reach there unless you do the first five. What are the first five? Yam. Yum means eating things that are very tasty. Yum, yum. No, that's not what it means. Yum means the rules. You don't do this. Don't do sinful activity. You have to have a clean life. It's the opposite of what we think is yum, yum, It's yum. And then yum means only eat prasadam. Only eat how much you need. Niyam means doing this, doing the positive things. What are the positive things? Serving Krishna, focusing your activities around Krishna, chanting Krishna's name. This japa is a part of it. Singing kirtan, reading Krishna conscious philosophy. All that is niyam. Yam niyam. Then, of course, there's asana. Asana means sit properly. Then pranayam. Pranayam means to regulate your breath. Right? Atyahar. Atyahar means then you regulate other aspects of life, not eating too much and this and that. Atyahar. Yam niyam, asana, pranayam. Not atyahar, pratyahar, sorry. Pratyahar. Then you have dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Dharana means some steadiness now is coming. Dhyan means now your consciousness is focused, and samadhi means you're fully absorbed in consciousness, trance. So in Krishna consciousness, meditation is one part of it, the mantra meditation. But everything you do in Krishna consciousness, if you follow the program, is part of this eightfold process. If you have been observing yam, niyam, asana, dharana, basically when you've been chanting, you wake up very early, you go for Mangalarti. You're already, the curtain's about to open, you're already in the stage of dharana because you are anticipating seeing the Lord. That is dharana. Then when the curtains open and the kirtan starts, samsara dhava, and then you focus completely, it's called dhyan. And then when you start dancing and you just flow into this trance-like feeling in front of the deities, so much so that your head hits the pillar because you're not even aware of it. That is called samadhi. Okay. So samadhi doesn't just mean you're sitting and doing meditation. Samadhi means every aspect of full absorption in service to Krishna when you're really experiencing his presence. Okay. That's important. That's why the entire Krishna conscious package is full. And you're already there. In this modern day, it's not possible to do the ancient sitting technique and dharana. You're not even going to be there. By the time they reach samadhi, it's snoring. That doesn't work. You need active yoga, which is Krishna consciousness. You don't want to do this pretentious snoring yoga, right? Go for Krishna consciousness. You'll actually feel, you will taste the honey. Guarantee it. All right, Jyoti? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay, we have gone quite a bit over our time. So thank you once again for your kind participation. I look forward to seeing you all next Saturday when we will conclude this series and go our separate ways. And maybe after that, we'll see you again. Krishna wishes. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.